Welcome, welcome, welcome once again to the Regulated Founder. I am Olivia Denson Thomas, the brand counselor, helping you go from hustling to wholeness and building irreplaceable brands in the trust economy. Gang, gang. And my darling friend and co host, Samantha Gregory. Tell them who you are, girl.
I'm Samantha Gregory, the Self Care Alchemist, founder of Self Care Oasis, where I help women transform burnout into better boundaries, more balance, and shameless bliss via self devotion. I'm
I
happy to be
love,
here.
I love it. Self devotion really is like, I don't know, man. I think we need to talk about. I think that just always needs to be the thing that we talk about because I think right now, right, we are in a chaotic place as a world, as a country.
Hmm.
And as a founder, like chaos kind of becomes a part of the move, right? Like no matter how many things you put into place and no matter how much like preparation you do to make sure that things are in place. Like something's going to shake up. I remember a mentor used to tell me like if you're going to have an event, you always show up 3 hours early because the worst things are going to happen.
Hmm.
Right? And I think sometimes the anchoring that needs to happen really is the self-devotion. Actually, not sometimes, all the time. Like
All the time.
that is the anchoring that needs to happen, right?
Absolutely.
Like if a founder is kind of going through a wartime,
Hmm.
right? Things are unstable, industries are shifting, which is kind of what's happening right now. Like it is very it's different. And the biology of it is panic.
Hmm.
Your body really does start to try to figure out like what the armor is and like, how do I brace for impact? Right.
Hmm.
And obviously staying nimble is probably the better thing because if you're stiff during impact, you break.
Yes.
Um, so like how can a founder prepare their nervous system to like to properly carry the weight of
Mhm.
crisis for themselves and for their team?
Great question. And yes, there are wars on many fronts right now. And I think the best way to prepare for it, I guess, is in the word preparation because you can't just all of a sudden, scramble to get ready when you have made no decision, when
Yeah.
you don't have a foundation, when you are so head down in the work that you're doing, and then all of a sudden you look up and say, "Oh, the world is in chaos. My life is in chaos," and think you're going to have a plan. So
Mm,
this you just require a decisive plan ahead of time, and in terms of how do I prepare my body, how do I prepare my mind
yeah.
for this imminent threat, is to already be prepared for the threat ahead of time.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of the most interesting things about being a founder, being someone who's like building the future
Mhm.
is you're kind of building for the best version of what that can look like. Um and if you don't become what I like to call an optimistic realist,
Mhm.
then it is easy to fall into the fear. And when you're afraid, you're gonna begin projecting the fear on everybody else because, like, this is not going the way that you thought it was gonna go, in this optimistic side of
Mhm.
things, but really having preparation, like you said, um, for the worst case scenario. Like,
Yeah.
I came from PR, so crisis communications is always kind of a thing where you have to say, like, "Okay, this is great, but if there was a collapse in the system, like,
Mhm.
how then do I actually, like, you know, handle this?"
Mhm.
And I think for some people, the handling is to kind of, like, revert back to micromanaging, right? Because, like, control feels like safety. It feels
Mhm.
like something that's gonna work, but hypervigilance never really serves us.
No. I'm sorry.
I didn't know you have a dog.
My daughter, Lord have mercy, scared my heart out of my chest.
He's like, "I'm in this conversation too. I have things to say." I love it. Oh my
Oh
god.
gosh.
Uh,
But
I
yeah, and I was
yeah.
I was gonna interject that years ago, I worked I worked in IT, of course,
Yeah.
and I mean, I still am adjacent to IT, but I worked at NASA, and I was on a disaster recovery preparation team,
Mm,
and I think this is kind of fitting because it was, again, preparing for whatever disasters happen, whether it's a natural disaster, a man-made disaster, um, terrorist threat, somebody, a cyber attack or whatever,
yeah.
and so you had to have plans put in place, again, like I mentioned, and not just have the plans in place, but you have to have the prepare for contingencies, redundancies in case systems went down, et cetera, et cetera. So you had to have backups, you had to have all these things in place, and I think that's very true for our nervous system. It's very
Yeah.
true for our mental, physical, emotional health. We have to think beforehand, think about where are we now? Because
Yeah.
this is a big issue that a lot of people are at. It's like, okay, so where are we now? Where do we want to be? Because if something happens, we want to make sure we can get these systems back up and running fast as possible, so that
Mm,
there's no delay in services. There's no delay. Okay, if for instance, if there's a shuttle that just went up into space, if something happens on Earth, you need to be able to get these people communication up, and you need to be able to get them back. So with our own personal systems, with our own business systems, whatever it may be, knowing that you have these plans and contingencies and redundancies in place so you're available for whatever happens and you're not panicking, you're not
mm,
crashing out, you're not allowing whatever the situation to knock you off kilter and keep you down for the count. So, and being able to kind of bounce back, that doesn't mean
yeah.
you have to be hyper vigilant. It doesn't mean that you have to always be hyper aware of an impending threat or
Yeah.
doom, but it's like, okay, I know that I need to make sure that my nervous system
Mm,
is prepared for what's happening around me. And I also need to protect my nervous system. I need to protect all my systems so that should something happen, it doesn't take me weeks on end or months to recover. It only
yeah.
takes a couple of hours, maybe. It may take a day at most. And if you can get to that state, then you're doing really well. But it
Yeah.
does, again, it's a determined effort. It's a let me put some things in motion. Let me put a plan in place so that I'm not just left out here, flapping in the wind, hanging, and just like I don't know what's happening. and it takes too long to recover because you didn't know or could not. You had no plan in place. In essence.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny because in business world, we use the term launch so constantly, right?
Mhm.
So even this idea of like launch having worked at NASA, like that's a real launch.
Mhm.
And there is expensive equipment and there are people that you have to be thinking about,
Yeah.
like, you know, to make sure everybody and everything is safe, or at least we can go again,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
like if you are looking around and surveying for the potential of disaster, the potential of chaos, and even kind of like preparing yourself ahead of time, like what questions are you asking yourself?
What's happened before? Because I
Mm,
think history is a good indicator of what could happen and how it could happen. So if you're looking at, okay, let's historically what has happened or what could happen. And
yeah,
then you're also looking at your environment, like what are the risks around you? And risk is not just a system going down, it's natural disasters happening because like another story, I lived in this house one time and there was these, it was a wooded area in the back. It was a hurricane, really, and the ground got soggy, the trees were tall enough to land on top of the house, right?
mm,
So, being able to look around you and say and see what are some of the things that could happen, checking the environment around you, checking the people around you, checking the circumstances around you, looking at history, and being able to figure out, okay, what are the potential things that could happen. And then also, what are the boundaries that I need to have in place so
Mm,
that I'm not allowing people or circumstances or situations, even myself, to sabotage what or cause, not just sabotage, but even cause a crisis.
mm,
So looking at all those things is, I think, is really important so that you're no longer you won't be surprised by things. And I think that awareness is so important. And I think so many people are just again running, 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 running. You're
mm,
running so fast you're gonna run into a brick wall. So you're not slowing down enough to pay attention to
yeah,
what's around you, what could be a potential threat, a situation, incident, because there's varying degrees of crises. There's varying degrees of warlike situations. It could be internal, external. It could be people who coming in with the drama, so
yeah,
that's what I'm saying, even looking at the people around you, so you can be able to say, "Okay, yeah, this is a potential situation that could happen, and I need to release them. I need to let them just take a back seat or just completely exit stage left, so that I'm not creating situations or allowing people to create situations in my life that could cause a storm
mm.
or crisis to happen."
Man, that's real. There is an urge to urgency, right? And there's a desire to micromanage everyone and everything around you because like your body starts to panic and says like, well, I have to have the answers, even if you
Mhm.
don't actually have the answers.
Right.
Like suddenly, like your self-preservation just like kicks in and this idea that you have to have the answers. Um, it becomes a big part of your reality. And I think one of the ways that we can kind of move through that, and like maybe you can help me kind of flesh this out, is like removing the shame of the panic.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we panic, there is shame in the fact that we did panic, so it's hard to like stop.
Yeah.
So, like, how do we even destigmatize, like, "Hey, listen, this is actually crazy, and you can acknowledge that."
Yeah. I mean, so when you find yourself in situations and you have, like, no again, you don't have any history about it, you have
Yeah.
no point of reference for it, it can feel shameful when you because you have been so conditioned to always have the answers, to always be strong, to
Mm,
always know the right thing to do. When you don't know what you don't know, how you gonna
mm.
know? You just you have to live through it, right? Or
Yeah.
you have to find someone who has been there before and ask
Mm,
questions, whether it be a colleague, a coach, a manager, a business advisor, whomever, those people can help guide you through potential scenarios or a scenario you're currently in. So you don't allow shame to drown you and keep
mm.
you from the valuable lessons and information you can gather from the situation.
I love that. I love that, and then you can begin to write it into your processes.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, just because you didn't go through it the first time, like, just because you didn't go through it well the
Right.
first time, right, doesn't mean you can't go through it better the next
Mhm.
time. And obviously, like, you can look around and you can check the historicals and figure out who else in the world might have experienced something, but sometimes you can't prepare.
Right.
You can do whatever you can with, like, your imagination and, like, worst case scenarios, and thank God for AI. You can be like, "What's gonna happen?" Like, "What's
Right.
gonna happen?" But being able to say, like, "Alright, well, in the event of this happening, here's the script. Here's how we're going to govern ourselves. Who are the decision makers? Like, this is how we exist operationally. But even if you can't figure that out in that time,
Mm.
being able to put those things in place for next time, because like when you don't carry shame
Mhm.
for what happened and what's going on, you can actually start to prepare for next time because there might be a next time in some way.
Mhm.
And then that's you get to build forward. I think that's
Right.
the thing that keeps us from building forward so much of the time.
Mhm. Exactly. And I
Yeah.
would say too that regarding shame and situations that you find yourself in, if we could just mind that it's just information, it's not an identity.
Mm,
Shame tries to make you feel like this is who I am
mhm.
versus this is what I'm going through. And that's a false flag. You know, that's not true. It is
Yeah.
only information, it is not your identity. You can anchor yourself in that, and that every situation that you're in, that you experience is information. It's an experience, but it's not who you are.
I
And
love it.
the sooner you identify your truth about your identity
Mhm.
and be anchored in that, the better. I mean, because we get dragged down by these false labels that we, kind of allow people or circumstances to, put on us. And it could be conditioning. Again, I'll use that word a lot. It could be conditioning that someone has told you, oh, you
Mhm.
should be ashamed of yourself, or oh, you should be, you should feel guilty, or you should, all these negative feelings and stuff like that. But it's like, but yeah, that's not who I am. And if you can kind of heal yourself from those narratives and that conditioning, then I think you'll be a lot better off.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, and I resonate with that, right? Because
Mhm.
I personally have held there's like a really good deal of shame and like the you should have known better,
Right. Yeah.
which I think is a crazy statement. Like,
How would you
why?
know?
How would you know? How, Sway?
Right.
Like, it just doesn't actually make any sense, especially if it's not something you've experienced before, or it's not something that anyone has ever, like, guided you through.
Right.
Like, this assumption that, like, knowing better is possible at all times
Mm.
is like, it's a trap.
It is so yes, it is such a trap. And
Yeah,
I've encountered a lot of clients who, especially on my tech consulting side, that we're setting up, their online business, and we're setting up systems, et cetera, et cetera. And I will hear people say all the time, I should know this. Like, but how would you know? You could have known this. If it's not something that you do every day like I do, you won't know. If
yeah,
if you've never been in this situation before, you have no point of reference. You have no experience, and you probably had no reason to even research it or look it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
So you can release that. You can release that shame.
You had no reason to even look it up.
Right.
Like, this was not at all in your periphery. So,
Mm,
like, why would you be looking for something that has nothing to do with you?
exactly.
It's just like, it's insane.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, right? Because so many narratives we carry kind of, like, lean automatically to, like, the worst version of things instead of, like, "Man, I'm so glad I get to learn."
Mhm.
Right? And just, like,
Mhm.
kind of having to reframe everything. I am the queen of the reframe. You
Mhm.
can give me, like, the sky is falling, I'm like, "Man, look at that." Like, there's some new materials to build with, that's awesome.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Like, so how do you help people? How is one way that people can kind of, like, capture, calm, and reframe in a moment when the sky kind of is falling?
Yeah, I would say I would tell them, take a breath and step back, right?
Mm,
And just observe the situation, and don't feel like you have to make a immediate decision, because I
yeah.
think in the pause is where things tend to calm down, because the
Mhm.
more negative energy or chaotic energy you add to it, it's like adding more fuel to the fire. So if
Yeah,
you can just take a step back, say, okay, let me just assess the situation,
yeah,
then make a decision. When you can be responsive instead of reactive,
yeah,
then that would just turn the whole thing around. Whether you're dealing with a person, whether you're dealing with a situation where you had no idea this was going to even pop up, whether you're
mm,
dealing with technology, or you're dealing with an irate client or whomever, it's like just pause and take a step back, and don't feel pressured. It's easy to say when when you've been doing it as long as I have,
yeah,
but don't allow the pressure to have an answer or respond to the situation move you.
Mm,
Just if you could just stand 10 toes down in that space of stillness in the moment, then I think it's going to help give you clarity. It's going to help you see what the situation really is because the thing is maybe not the thing, you know?
it usually isn't.
Not the thing. The thing you think is the thing is not the thing. So it's like if you could just stop and pause and say, okay, let me just take a step back because if it's a person, it could be something that's triggered them before they even came into your, space.
Yeah,
If it's a bolt that snapped and then something's falling, okay, you want to get out of the way. But you can also go back and assess and say, okay, well, why did that happen? That the why question comes into play, and you don't have to try to write a dissertation about it. But if you're able to look at the situation from more than one angle and more than one
yeah,
perspective, then you can 9 times out of 10 find the root cause of it, or at least the path that leads to the root cause.
yeah, yeah. I love I you didn't quite say it like this, but this is what I heard. Like, you can't let the pressure answer for you.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
that is excellent because I think sometimes the pressure comes in and it's so flooding
Mhm.
that the dams just wanna, like, break, right?
Yeah.
Like, the levees are open, so whoosh, the
Mhm.
pressure is coming through, but the power in the pause.
Right.
Like, you get to decide if you are going to rebuild the dams, you get to decide if you need to break them down, because sometimes
Mhm.
you do.
Mhm.
Like, you get to decide what's actually happening in the moment because you get to pause
Right.
instead of letting the pressure run the show. Oof, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think because we're so used to seeing chaotic situations happen and see people be reactive and people flying off the handle and people blaming and finding someone to pass the buck to,
Yeah,
it gives you that again hypervigilance. It gives you that stress and pressure to do something now in order to relieve the pressure. And I that had been true for me for years because
yeah,
I don't like pressure, and so I'll do whatever it takes to get rid of the pressure. But
yeah,
that often led me to, challenging situations, wrong decisions. It led me to have to backtrack and to fix things. So and it wasted a lot of time. So
yeah,
if you can learn not to succumb to the pressure. And here's the other things. A lot of time, I'm one of those people. I'm kind of calm under pressure, but underneath the surface, my feet are paddling. It's just like, ooh, let me hurry up and get up out of here because I do not want to be caught up in this situation a minute longer.
yeah,
But
yeah,
still learning how to just take the pause and
mm,
assess the situation first, and then respond to it it's after you've gathered as much information as you can for the time frame, depending on the urgency of it.
yeah, yeah. I think sometimes for me, the thing that happens is I have to decide which identity is responding.
Mhm.
Because like when the chaos hits, when the pressure starts flooding, like probably the most hurt version of me comes to the surface.
Mhm.
And they are like, "Hey, we need to hide. We need to fix this." My nervous system responses are I don't fight as much as I used to. Are are fawn and freeze. All
Mhm,
right. Listen, you
mhm.
can find me under the covers.
Right,
All
right.
right, amen. And and I think even like pausing, right? Like not freezing, pausing like intentionally and
Mhm,
figuring out what version of me within my internal family system, right, is actually going to answer the moment.
mhm.
Um, I don't think we like, I think sometimes we hear like Beyonce and Sasha Fierce and we're just like, oh my gosh, like that's so weird. But like I don't think we acknowledge how many different like identities we do carry.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
like sometimes the name is like mom or daughter or sister
Right.
or it's not necessarily like a whole different like nomenclature. Like it's probably a title.
Mhm.
So like you have to still be mindful of like which version of you is coming to the surface to like answer it. And from what you're saying, the pause gives you a second to decide like, all right, like which identity can I exist in
Right.
that's actually going to support this moment instead of running like a chicken with its head cut off.
Exactly. Exactly. And it takes practice to be able to do that. And I think that's why having the plan in place that well, thinking like chess versus checkers, a few steps ahead. You don't have to, the whole plan, but if you
Yeah.
can think a few steps ahead, like what would I do in this situation?
Mm,
Um, and then make a decision, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to pause. I'm going to assess the situation. And then I'm going to make um, incremental decisions based on the level of urgency until I
yeah.
get the full picture. And then I'm going to go to whatever the plan is in the book the process that we've created, or if you have one. Um, your boundaries, like we talked about policies and procedures, what are those? And
Yeah.
going just kind of referring back to those things so that your nervous system will be able to contain whatever the crisis is, and you can release it. And I think that's the other part. We have to learn how to release it
Yeah.
once the crisis is over, and
Mm,
then think about, okay, so what did we learn? What are how we're going to mitigate risk in the future, and what, and then celebrate the fact that I didn't fly off the handle.
yes.
Celebrate that as well. And I think we don't do that enough. We feel like, phew, it's over. Okay, I did a great job.
Yeah.
Look, I did not, you know, go off the handle. I did not lose my mind. I remained focused. You have to just kind of celebrate that as well.
I love that. Celebration is it, celebration is by far one of my like I don't know, most utilized values
Okay.
because a lot of this entrepreneurship journey is reparenting.
It is.
And like no matter how you shake it, like it is
Mhm.
actually reparenting. And I think like the occasional like not even participation trophy, but just like saying like, man, you really like speaking to the specifics of what you had to do
Mhm.
to move through whatever that situation is and like honestly like honoring like each step and each bit of the thought process that you took to actually do it because the reality is you could have gone a whole different direction
Mhm.
and it probably would have felt normal to go in a whole different direction because a slide is easy, right?
Yeah.
So decline is not hard. So like the fact that you continued walking up the hill and maybe changed your technique, changed your
Mhm.
gait, changed your stride, like you
Change
did
the route.
something right, like you right. Like you did something like intentionally to
Mhm.
actually make sure that collapse didn't happen or didn't overtake you. Because maybe the
Mhm.
collapse happened, but like, you actually made your way to the other side anyway, which is a huge deal. So
Absolutely.
like celebration is like, I'm a high five girl. Listen, like I am going to say what I did. I actually in my to-do list book, on one side there's the list itself, on the other side it's celebrations.
Nice.
Cause like I need to see it like every single day, like, girl, guess what you didn't do yesterday? Or guess what you did?
Mhm.
Cause it's energy.
Yes.
Like being able to esteem ourselves and the things that we've like actually done instead of having to like look left and right or even wait for other people to do it.
Mhm.
Like it is it creates courage.
Yes, it does. It
It creates
absolutely
courage.
does. And I think it's a sticky moment as well because you remember the feel good after the crisis or the problem that happened,
Yeah,
and you don't necessarily equate it with a negative thing because
yeah,
you celebrated getting through it.
yeah,
So it's like you say, it's courage, it's resilience building, it's, all the good things that we want for ourselves
Yeah.
so that the next thing that comes down, whether expected or unexpected, we can say, "You know what? I'm built for this. I can do this," you know?
I'm into this. And like, especially like sometimes we have to make decisions that are kind of like high stakes
Mhm,
and we don't have all the information, but we have to have a decision made,
mhm,
right? Like, what are some other ways to build the courage so your body doesn't like scream to a halt, right?
mhm.
Like, what are other ways? Like, celebration is huge, but like, what are other ways that you can make sure that your body remembers that you got this and you do this,
Mhm.
so that when the thing happens, um, you're not stuck?
Yeah, I would say the one of the main things is a daily practice
Mhm.
of connecting and grounding yourself and telling yourself literally, today is going to be an amazing day and I can handle whatever comes my way today.
Yeah.
Just even that simple phrase does so much because it literally, I think we talked about it last week, commanding your morning so that
Yeah.
you can face whatever happens. The other thing I would say is to be mindful of the conversations that you have with different people,
Mm.
who you allow to come into your space and have conversations that may not be the most positive.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and also where's your attention going?
Mm.
Who are you allowing to arrest your attention? Whether it's in social media, whether it's the news, whether it's um, again, maybe the cranky client, whomever. You want to be very mindful and careful and protective
Yeah.
of your attention so that you
Yeah.
can manage your nervous system better.
I love that. I love that. I think having the appropriate people in our corner is actually a
Mhm,
really big deal, especially people that speak to the it's like we from brand perspective, right? Like you're always going to have your identity infrastructure, the core of your, the soul of your business. And I think there is a certain agility
mm,
that you get to maintain when you A, have that down pat, like you know the identity that you're operating in, but also when the people around you are also like speaking to that identity as well.
yeah.
Right? Like, if they're speaking to the scared version of you, like, "What are you gonna do? Oh my gosh, everything's gonna collapse." Like, it's a hindrance,
Mhm,
right? Like, it puts some tar under your heels. But if you are with people who are, like, reverberating
mhm,
that idea of this specific winning identity, um into you, right?
mhm,
And, like, that can be your team, like, it can be
sure,
obviously your community, your mentors, your sponsors, all those people, but, like, being able to be so clear within your team, like, "Hey, this is who we are, and this is what we're doing, and this is, like, the core soul foundation of this business. We're gonna get through this."
mhm,
Like, it's easier to trust that even if you don't see what's happening on the other side, like, we can strategically pivot. We can get through this
mhm.
and we're gonna make it. Um, man, yeah, community matters.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and I love that this is kind of centering around identity,
Yeah,
because when you're clear about not just your community's identity and your company's identity, but your own soul identity, it
yeah,
makes a difference. And I'm really big on self study and
mm,
self development, self discovery, from the perspective of I know who I am. I know even like what's the blueprint of me of my what's my crisis management blueprint because
Yeah.
I am more or less a calm person on the surface. On
Mhm.
the outside, I'm very calm. I calm other people, right? Other people may have a different kind of blueprint and they may be very kind of anxious and let's get this done. Let's do, the thing. But I think it's really important to know what your specific blueprint or soul print
Yeah.
is, your identity is, so that when you do have crisis situations, so when you have things kind of fall apart, how do you naturally react or respond? Um, and you have to be clear, okay, is this really my true reaction and response, or is it what I've always seen growing up? Is it what people have kind of been impressing on me?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you may be around a bunch of hyper intensive people, but you're probably not that intense naturally. But
Yeah.
because you've been reacting that way your entire life, because you've seen everybody around you react that way, it's like, now you got high blood pressure, you got all kind of other things happening to you. It's just like, but so I think it's so important to understand what is your crisis management identity and just everything else on top of that.
I love that. I think, the idea of not taking the panic of everybody around you or anybody around you makes me think of, a conversation that I saw kind of, like, popping up on my timeline. So the company The Do, the hair care
Mhm,
company, they received a minority investment, undisclosed amount,
mhm,
from VMG Partners within the last month. Now, for Black-owned businesses, primary like, with, like, hair care especially, anything with, like, formulation, um, there tends to be, like, a little panic
oh, yeah.
that happens in the community because it's like, "Well, oh my gosh, there goes my favorite thing, like, it's
Mhm,
all gonna collapse now. Ah, this is terrible." Um, and I understand that, and I think it is such a nuanced conversation that requires for the founder to be so stable,
mhm,
because as I was kind of sitting there, um, looking at the word minority investor and recognizing, like, she still has she and her husband still have, like, the primary say over the brand and over the business. Um, B, kind of looking at the numbers.
yeah,
Um, so I did some research on how much it costs to run their business. Um, and frankly, it's kind of more than they have. Like,
mm,
even though they're making $38 million,
mhm,
operating like a CPG business, a consumer product good business, with all the different with the shelves that they're on, with the different manufacturing deadlines, with the packaging deadlines, shipping deadlines, like, all of these things cost different amounts at different times that
mhm,
don't really work. So
mm,
it's like they needed the investment. So it's
right,
like if they were to stop and say like, "Hey, oh man, our community is gonna be angry at us," and like we like and make the decision based off of that, there wouldn't be a business for the community to even invest in.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Like, it's so important to know who to listen to
mhm,
and who not to listen to and, like, when to listen. Because obviously the community is important, but if you're making business decisions
mhm,
based off of other people's panic,
mhm,
like, you can't actually get that far.
right,
Um, so there has to be a certain kind of, there has to be peace.
yes,
There has to be peace in that, and I guess the question is, right, like, for something like that, like, the shakeup is probably there in the minds
mhm,
of the founders, so, like,
mhm.
how do you then maintain the regulated, like, baseline?
Mm.
to even anticipate the the crisis that may or may not kind of like arise.
Right. Again, anchoring in your own identity, anchoring your nervous system every day, but also we talked earlier about a plan. Like, what
Yeah,
is our, this is literally like, okay, potential disaster recovery plan are we going to
yeah,
put in place? Because if you don't have that and you're relying on good vibes, no, ma'am, that is not going to work. This is not when you're dealing with us, and not when you're dealing with, demand, the amount of money that you need to run your operations and have your systems in place, and even bring on management that can really support the growth and
yeah,
scale of your business or scaling the business. Excuse me. So having that plan in place, um, as well as a communication
mm,
strategy with your customer base,
yeah,
because they want answers,
yeah,
because they are the ones who paying, you know, who where your revenue is coming from. So
yeah,
having a communication plan in place as well that is grounded,
mm,
like standing 10 toes down
yeah,
on, this is our brand, these are the assurances, this is, authentically what we're trying to maintain through this evolution,
yeah,
and not treating your customers like they don't matter or that they're
mm,
ignorant.
yeah,
That is that's a no-no.
yeah,
You know? And so I think with having yourself grounded, having a plan, knowing how you're gonna communicate shifts and changes, reassuring your customers. I think those are all really good ingredients for, making sure that you're able to ride the storm or
yeah,
potential storm that could happen. Not burying your head in the sand, not ignoring the problem, not
mhm,
trying wishing that it'll go away because it won't. Having the right, but also having the right people around you who have the best interest of the company at heart, who have your best interest at heart, and not being delusional about people who have a lot of flowery words. Okay, what's your track record? I need to know. I need to understand, how do you handle crisis situations, not
yeah,
just from a strategic standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint too, because your
mm,
energy is really going to impact how we're able to move forward successfully or unsuccessfully, how long it's going to take to make the transition, or how short it'll be. If you don't put all those moving pieces in place, because this is different from your regular operations.
mhm,
This is a special project, literally,
yeah,
that you have to be very aware of and have a plan for.
mm, I love that. I love the I love the idea of not treating your audience like they're ignorant.
Mhm.
Um, because what I like to think about with businesses and audiences is that we're co-proprietors of life,
Mhm.
right? Like I'm creating something that you need to make your life better. You're buying it because you want to make your life better. So we actually are very much in this together. So what does it look like for us to truly have a conversation about like, well, in order for you to get this thing, this mousse that you really love, like this is the actual production cost
Mhm.
of it. And this is how it gets to your favorite store so you can get
Right.
it easily. Like shelf space isn't free. Like it's it's actually something that carries like weight. And
Right.
even what we get in return for that, like the timelines for that, like net 60, net
Mhm.
120, 120. Like like what? So so there's so much to think about and there's so much to communicate um in regards to the realities of business and like it's not necessarily something that we as a people like talk to actually or about on a regular basis.
Mhm.
So when we see a shift like that, um, we see more betrayal
Yeah.
than we do like a structural story that frankly I've been enjoying um kind of like peeling it back where we can see like, oh, this is really what it looks like to take something from imagination
Mm.
to like a scale that is just like both unimaginable and profitable.
Mhm.
Like profitability, like revenue happens. Like
Yeah.
38 million in revenue happens.
Mhm.
38 million in profit,
A different story.
so different. Like, and that's
Yeah.
not what we're looking at.
Mm-mm. We're not.
Like I think EBITDA was maybe before taxes and interest and fees, like it was maybe like 7.3 million.
Mm.
And then like afterwards it's like maybe 4.5 million. But then that same money needs to go back into production.
Right.
So there's no money.
Mhm.
Like this isn't like, not to
Right.
say it's not a thing, but like it's a wider story that we all should be talking about in a way where we can say like, oh man, like there's much to learn here about what we actually get from these people. And there is a chance to on the business side be proactive instead of reactive.
Right.
Um, which is dope. Like I think it's dope because you get to reinforce that peace is a structure
Mhm.
that we can actually talk about it and see what it takes to create like the cogs moving together.
Right.
And we don't have to panic. Like a shift does not need to create panic
Right.
for us.
And I think it goes back to learned or unlearned coping skills.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have good coping skills because, again, reactivity is the norm
Mhm.
versus assessing, just pausing, just taking a step back and then assessing what the situation is and then deciding, how do I want this to turn out? A lot
Mm.
of times mm, we're so quick to allow the circumstances to drive
Ooh,
life versus
yeah.
us making a decision about how we want life to look. And for anybody who knows about like manifesting and who's in that space, it's like you literally create your reality,
Mhm.
whether you do it intentionally or unintentionally. But
Yeah.
I'd rather you do it intentionally by saying, this is how I want it to look. This is the vision. This is the goal. This is the intention. And
Yeah.
I have control over this by how I feel, the vibration I'm emitting,
Yeah.
the peace plan that I'm putting in place. All
Yeah.
these things affect the outcome, but you gotta see the outcome in your mind first, in your
Yeah.
imagination first, and stop allowing just, "Oh, this life is happening, any old thing. Oh, I just can't. I have no control." Yes, you do.
Yeah. You do.
You have
You have
control.
you there's so much control.
Right.
Like and even so like I actually really love conversations about manifesting and I love conversations about neurology.
Mhm.
Because like even if you're not like necessarily into manifesting, your brain
Yes.
is
Mhm.
because of so the brain likes shortcuts. The brain is
Yeah.
always looking for proof.
Mhm.
Like if you have a worry, your brain's like, okay, I'm gonna prove it.
Mhm.
If you have a hope, your brain's like, okay, I'm gonna prove it. Because what you have is called a reticular activating system.
Right.
So it's like if your brain hears something or sees something, if you visualize something, it's going to scan without you kind of like realizing for that thing in real life. Like when it's like
Mhm.
my husband called it the red car. He's
Uh-huh.
like, I
Yep.
see the red car everywhere now.
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, okay. Um, like your brain is if you think red car, your brain's like, I got you.
Mhm.
There it is. And like we really have to honor the ways that our bodies work.
Absolutely.
because our body really does want to give us like, our body wants to give us what we believe.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if we honestly say to ourselves, like, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling," and you focus more on the good, like, you're n like, it's going to look for it.
That part,
It's gonna
yes.
be easier to recognize it in this life,
Mhm.
um, because you say you want it, and it's like, "I'm going to prove you right."
Exactly. And you get what you expect, really,
Yeah.
you know? I often liken it to the woman who suspects her husband is cheating or her boyfriend is cheating. She's rummaging through his phone, she's, just looking for all the evidence. Okay, well, you're gonna find the evidence, man. What are you
Yeah,
doing?
you're gonna find something.
You're gonna find something, and if you have to go through that, then I don't think you should be in that relationship anyway, but that's another conversation. So
Yeah, that's off the clock.
but it's still a similar scenario where if you're looking for a crisis, if you're looking for a war, if you're looking for things to go bad in your personal life or your professional life, it's going to happen.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
So a lot of crises can be averted. A lot of crises really don't even have to exist, but because it exists in your mind, it starts to happen in your reality. And so,
Yeah.
yes, have plans in place, but don't expect a crisis. Expect things
Mm,
to go well. Expect that you're going to have a wonderful day, a wonderful year, and life is going to be great. And so you don't have to be hyper vigilant about a
mm,
disaster plan or a crisis plan or but still keeping your nervous system in tip-top shape so
yeah,
that no matter whatever happens that's out of your control, you
yeah.
can stand in your own power because your nervous system is ready.
I I love that. So I think sometimes there are businesses that look really successful, but then, the behind the scenes is they just need some stuff, right? It needs different structure and like I love to call it a successful mess
Mhm.
because like it's functioning, it's working, but man, like it's a little greasy back there.
Yeah.
And especially in a time where things are shifting, right?
Mm,
Like you kind of have to prepare yourself for visibility,
mhm.
right? Like we were just talking about being proactive in the conversation and the only way to kind of maintain your authority in a situation really is to kind of like get out there
Yeah.
and be seen imperfectly,
Mhm.
right? Um so how does one build their capacity for being perceived as
Mm.
imperfect?
Mm. Yeah. I've been recently working on that myself. I think it goes
Mhm.
back to, again, the vision that you
Mhm.
have for yourself, and then also what's the capacity you already have?
Mm.
Because what's the saying goes, "Strengthen your strengths, not your weaknesses,"
Mm.
or something to that effect. So a lot of people say, "Well, you need to look at you need to, strengthen your weaknesses." I'm like, "No, I don't." That to me, that's a waste of time.
Mm.
But you find out what you excel in, what your strengths are, and you magnify those. You put the
Mhm.
spotlight on those so that you can move in the ways you need to or want to move
Yeah.
more effectively and efficiently.
Yeah.
Focus on that. And I think the capacity will increase
Yeah.
because you have a foundation already.
Mhm.
Um, but you can for the parts that you do want to strengthen, make sure it matches who you are
Yeah.
and the identity that you have and are building for yourself so
Mm.
that you're not spinning your wheels on things that drain you,
Yeah.
that pull you from your purpose, that make you feel shame
Yeah.
or less than. So you look at things and you integrate things that make you feel great.
Yeah.
that you can celebrate, that gives you a sense of expansion and purpose and increase your esteem.
Mm,
So those are
yeah.
the things that I would say will help you increase your capacity so that, you feel more successful than not.
Yeah.
And life starts to go the way that you want it to.
I love that. It makes me think of I think it was also within this past month, Anthropic, the
Mhm.
creators of Claude, has been getting complaints that Claude seems to be getting dumber. And what happened was they were trying to fix one thing
Mhm.
in Claude Code, and it messed up something else. So where
Ah,
they were trying to create brevity in the responses were just getting worse and worse with time, and the machine was just shaken up. So like it's just it was getting dumber, which it is what it is. Um, but this makes me think of Esther Perel's quote. So she's a relationship psychologist,
mhm.
and she says, "Trust is built in repair."
Mm, mm, mhm.
And I think right now, especially like I like to call this the trust economy because like there are so many things out there that are like vying for our trust that are like
Mm,
very, like very contrived, very weird,
very weird.
very weird, kind of uncanny valley. Like
Yeah, slow your
very
roll, my guy. Just stop.
everybody pause, please. Um, and I'm looking at Claude's response, so Anthropic's response, but they use the Claude Dev channel. Um, and they're just talking it through.
Mhm.
They're just talking it through. They're like, "Oh, yeah, we did it again. My bad." And it's so interesting to watch how they are walking us through the repair.
Mm, mhm.
Literally saying like, "Oh man, we are sorry, and this is what we're doing to fix it."
Mhm.
Like, this is how we're actually handling this thing because, ooh, you deserve better than what you were getting,
Mm,
right? And I think the response and, they're not the first to do this, but I'm always intrigued to see companies that are able to respond in a very, transparent way,
right.
'cause 'cause you get to look at them and say like, "Oh, we might really be in this together."
Right, right. And there's a sense of arrogance in it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not faking the funk and saying like,
Mhm.
"Man, we know everything." Um, but they're creating more pathways to credibility.
Mhm.
Like, we can trust them because instead of silently fixing a thing and being like, "We fixed it, and that's really it," they brought us into the story
Mhm.
of the reality.
Sure.
Um, and 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 it's messy.
Mhm.
And it makes us look at them as people actually,
Right.
period. Like, and it's easier to trust a person, like, even though this is an AI company,
Mhm.
like, it is easier to trust a person to be a person, and they showed their imperfect personhood, and so it's been interesting to watch people to, like, shift over to Claude already,
Right.
and now I'm gonna I'm gonna kind of watch and see, like, alright, who is now saying, like, "Man, Claude is great," like, singing the
Mhm.
praises, because they were brave enough to be visible
Yeah.
in this moment of mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And that is vulnerability. That is, removing the mask. That is allowing people to see your authenticity so
Yeah.
that you can build a relationship,
Yeah.
versus trying to hide and arrogantly placing yourself above others, even though they're the ones who are literally financing your business because they're buying, from you.
Yeah. Yeah, they really are. If you don't have an audience, you don't have anything really, so
Mhm.
it is what it is. This was great.
Yes, as usual.
As usual, I feel just more whole at the end of
Yes.
these conversations. Thank you so much for doing these 4 weeks with me, and and I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, same here. I've loved
Yeah.
this every moment.
Like, just uh, I feel different on the other side and just even more ready for life.
Mhm.
So, I'm excited. So thank you so much. Like, where can we find you in these internet streets?
Oh, well, you can find me here on Substack at Self-Care Oasis, is where my newsletter and my podcast are. You can find me on YouTube at Miss Samantha Gregory, no, at Samantha Gregory, and on LinkedIn, same thing, and TikTok. Well, I'm kind of there, I back and forth, the whole perception thing. So,
Listen, that part, it feels like, exposure therapy sometimes, man. Like, it's just
yes.
I feel like that's been my last 2 years, just like, "Just get on the camera, say words.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
promise you're safe. You're okay."
But
Um,
this exchange is much better. I like this more because the interaction is there.
yeah, yeah, whatever to get around it, man, like,
Mhm.
this works.
Yes, and we're still sure we showed up consistently, so I think that's we can give ourselves gold stars for that.
I love it, and if you're looking for me, I'm all over the internet on at The Brand Counselor, um, and you can subscribe to my Substack, you can, get the daily calibrations, helping you to, ship up and shape up day to day as you grow your business and your life.
Mm,
And I'm just happy to have you all here. And Samantha, I'm happy to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. And again, I look forward to doing this again.
absolutely, same here, Olivia. I've loved this, and, I love all the just great nuggets that's come out of this, and I hope that everyone who is watching, who's listening, whether live or in the future, that you gather a lot of wisdom from this, and that you can go and implement.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, friends, have a great night.
You
Stay intentional and keep flourishing.
see
Bye.
you.